Okay, I wanted to go through a couple really important things when it comes to what the hands and club are doing in the swing. I wanted to go through because there's a lot of cost in this, make you understand a little bit more. Doesn't mean it's going to be applicable all the pieces to you, but there might be in here that definitely can make a big difference in your game. When I'm looking at the backswing, okay, sort of cause and effect and what ultimately what's going to lead to impact, that's what we're trying to figure out here, okay? So super common tendency is setting up, and then as the player takes the club away, club goes inside, face gets a little open, sort of center of mass, right? So there's the center of mass of that club, there's the balance point of that club, gets pretty far behind them with an open face. From that position, as my intent is to hit that ball, so what am I going to do to hit that ball? You can see how I'm going to have to get the club to go that way. It's going to be hard. If I dropped it, you can see I would not be able to hit the ball unless I did something pretty crazy. Most players, when they get that way, they're going to go like that. They're going to put the force this way, and then that's going to get the club coming from the outside in too much, okay? The opposite of that is if I take the club back a little bit more in front of me, club's a little more in front, you see that the center of mass, right, is going to be more in front of my body. When I go to transition from that position, so as I'm turning up and then starting to go into the sequence of transition, you can see how that club actually is going to want to fall more this way, even if my intent is still to hit that golf ball, right? So the club's out in front of me, the mass is out in front of me, and then I say, okay, I'm going to hit it. You can see how that club actually wants to go that way, and it's going to change the direction of where the sweet spot's moving. It's going to set us up to be a little less, obviously, from the outside. There's different variations of this too, okay? So once I get it here, I'm still going to turn up to the top, depending on the player, how much wrist they have, okay? So if I'm using a lot of wrist, and then again, my intent's to hit it, you can see how that might throw the club out also, okay? So if we're going, okay, what would be, I would say, more neutral or neutral-ish for most people is if I take this stick as the visual, so I'm making an extension of my grip so you can sort of see a couple different things. So I'm up to the top. I'm going to get me into a pretty neutral position here, okay? So from there, if my hands start to go, okay, the goal is to draw it. If my hands go sort of down behind me, that's actually going to put a twist into the face that actually shuts it. So that might be a pull draw, okay? If I'm able to transition with the hands going, I would say, just slightly more in front of my body, okay, that's gonna keep the face relatively neutral. So then it's gonna be really easy to get the trail side through the ball, and then it's able to move through from that position, right? That's gonna put me in a really good spot to hit consistent, similar type shots depending on, you know, small fade, small draw kind of thing, or straight, okay? So definitely optimal. If I'm going the other way too much, so say again, pretty neutral top, as I'm transitioning, my hands start to move way out in front of my body, which I've seen players do. That's actually gonna make the club face, that the force going this way, you can see how that is gonna open the club face a little bit more. Some players can get out of that position and still square it, but I do see a lot if the hands get out too much and the face gets too open, where we're gonna end up with the face, even if I'm trying to twist it a lot, you can see that start line a little bit more to the right, okay? So depending on so if we get it neutral, so neutral being sort of in front of my body as I turn, so that would be neutralist position, okay? When I'm transitioning, if the hands are going down, the force going down, you can see how that's gonna start to square and stand up the club. If the force is going sort of neutral, which would be just in front of my body, that keeps the face relatively square. If I put a hard force across the grip, you can see what that's gonna do. That's gonna open the face potentially a little bit too much, again, depending on your tendencies. So I like the stick. You could do this in a mirror, you know, get some video of yourself from here, what's it like, or even demo it. What's it like if I did that move first and I tried to hit it? Obviously the face is gonna be probably a little shut, a little bit more in front, and then how does the body react from there? Okay, that's gonna be pretty good. Or I put a lot of force across the grip. Now I'm in this position, how am I gonna have to react? I'm gonna really have to work to square the club face up. So some things to pay attention to. A lot of it's a reaction, again, based on where we are, at the start of the swing. That's why I started with that first, right? So if we get out of position or way out of position early, it's going to be hard to manage those forces in transition. If we're relatively neutral, then we can start playing around some different feels in that transition move to get the face and path the way you want it. So ultimately impact is what you're picturing, hitting the shots that you want to hit, being a little more consistent because they understand it a little bit more.